Hey everybody, Patrick Soukup here, Soukup Real Estate Services in Fort Collins, Colorado. Today I'm going to be talking to you about buying a house budget. So considering down payment, closing costs, inspections, appraisals, we'll jump right in. When buying a house, you're going to be required to put down a down payment. We are not going to talk about VA loans or USDA loans where you could potentially put 0% down and negotiate in closing costs. We're going to talk more about conventional loans where you are going to be required to put 3 to 20% down of the purchase price. Quick numbers, $300,000 house, 3%, $9,000 is what you're going to be required on the down payment. From there, if you only put 3% down or less than 20% down, you're going to be required to pay on a monthly basis what's called private mortgage insurance. You could pay it all in one lump sum at the beginning of your at closing, or you could pay it off over the months ahead. And earnest money, which will be part of your down payment, will be required upon more than likely 3 days of going under contract. A general rule of thumb to take into consideration is 1% of the purchase price will be considered earnest money. It is negotiable. Generally, the listing agent and seller will suggest what they would like to see in earnest money, which generally what I've been seeing is about 1% of the purchase price. So again, off that $300,000 purchase price example, earnest money would be about 1%. One of the main costs and important things to take into consideration is a home inspection. Not only should you yourself inspect the home, you could get electricians, plumbers, handyman, but there are professional inspectors out there that will do a basically head to toe type exterior interior inspection, which could look at the interior walls, exterior, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and we'll give you a 45 to 50 page report from that. That's going to be anywhere from $350 to $500. I would bid that out. I would get quotes, but ask your buyer's agent for some recommendation. Look at their Google reviews and get some quotes as far as what the costs are. They will generally ask, especially in Colorado, if you'd like to also have a radon test, which for $100 to $150 will tell you what the radon levels are in the house and if you need to have some type of mitigation. So again, that inspection report is going to be about $350 to $500 and will be due upon completion prior to you getting your inspection report. It's one of the few expenses that you'll be required to pay throughout that process. The next budget item that probably won't apply to many first-time home buyers, more than likely because you're going to be buying in a subdivision, kind of a nice starter home, but is an improvement location certificate and or survey, which the title company may require you to get. If the title company requires you to get it, more than likely they will require you to get an ILC, which is essentially a document that tells you, does the improvements on the property encroach on any boundaries or any easements, and is that property in fact on that plat of land. That ILC could range $250 to $500. If for whatever reason the survey or the title company requires you to get a survey, well, a boundary survey could run $1,000 and up. It just depends on the difficulty, terrain, and how much time it takes them. But that could be, again, $1,000 and up. So continuing on, we're going to get to the appraisal, which comparatively to the inspection and generally similar to the ILC or survey, title may require you to get an ILC or survey. But if they don't, you might not even want to get that or care to. But generally, if you are going to be financing a property, an appraisal will be required by the lender. It will be anywhere between $500 to $700, unless, again, you're in kind of getting into larger mega mansion type homes. Could go up from there, but we're going to be focusing more on starter homes. So generally look at $500 to $700. And it's going to be paid at close usually. I have seen some lenders require you to pay for an appraisal up front, but generally that appraisal is going to be wrapped into your closing costs. So you don't have to pay for it until you get to close. Speaking about closing costs, going to be about 1.5 to 3% of the loan value. So getting back to our example of the $300,000 purchase price, putting 3% down, so your loan amount is going to be $291,000. So 1.5 to 3% of that 291 is going to be about $4,000 to $8,000 closing costs. What those are comprised of are going to be prepaids. So you're going to have some interest in there for your first month and a half. So if you close mid-May, your first mortgage payment is probably not going to be till July 1st. Fees, title fees, recording fees, lender fees, and potentially discount points. So if you wanted to buy your loan down from 3.5% to 3.375%, let's say, you may be asked to pay a point, or in this case, $2,900. 1 point is generally 1%, not generally, is 1%. So that's what your closing costs are going to be comprised of. It's going to be a pretty significant number, and that's going to be an addition to your down payment. Your down payment is going to be $9,000. Your closing costs are going to be anywhere from, like we just said, $4,000 to $8,000. So combined, about $13,000 to $17,000. One thing that your lender will look at is your liquid assets to see what type of reserves you have to make sure that you can afford the mortgage. So they will look at things such as your IRA and your cash on hand, and also obviously your W-2 income, everything like that. But just because they're looking at that doesn't mean that they're telling you, hey, you need to have 3 to 6 months reserves. That's something that you should look at yourself. So in our example of a $300,000 house that you bought for $291,000, 3 to 6 months worth of reserves is going to be anywhere from probably $4,500 to $5,500 for 3 months, and then just obviously double that for 6 months. So to bring it all home, let's just go over a quick example that we've been talking about through this video of buying a house at $300,000 and putting 3% down. It's going to be a 30-year fixed. It's an amazing gift that the world has provided us on the lending side of things to leverage a property like that. $300,000 purchase price, 3% down, 3.5%. I think if you're owner occupied, you got 750 plus credit score, and you can maybe put down a little bit more than 3%, you might be able to get that number down even a little bit more. Your down payment, $9,000. Earnest money, which will go into escrow, which will be applied to your down payment so long as you close, would be $3,000 in this scenario. Inspection plus radon is going to be $500. It's going to be due out of pocket at the time that is completed. Closing costs, which will include our appraisal that we've discussed, we're going to put at 2% on a loan of $291,000, brings us to $5,820. And then our mortgage, including taxes, insurance, and PMI, is going to be around $1,750 per month. So a good estimate for reserves, let's just say, is 4 months. I think that would be a good precautionary number, not necessarily the safest of 6 months to a year, and not as aggressive as just 3 months, which would be about $6,890 a month. So if you're thinking about buying a house, you're looking at what it costs to buy that house, to budget, to save. We're going to be looking at $9,500, $5,820 plus $6,890 to give us a total amount needed to buy a house, $22,210. At that point, I feel like you'd be able to put down enough money to buy the house, have reserves to feel secure, cover your closing costs, and walk away with a solid property. Now, when we're talking about a $300,000 piece of property and being able to buy that thing for $22,000 and pay it off over the next 30 years, maybe it's worth considering, holding off on that $25,000 wedding and putting that money towards a house, or just saving, over the next 5 years, $5,000 a year. That being said, I hope this helps. It really takes into consideration more than just a down payment or that monthly mortgage, brings in some of those ancillary costs that sometimes get forgotten in the weeds. Again, this is Patrick Soukup with Soukup Real Estate Services. If you have any questions, comment below. Would be happy to talk to you or answer any other questions by any other contact means, email, phone call, whatever. Take care.